What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down some big news involving President Trump and Tesla, what's going on with the big tech earnings that just came out, and how all of this is affecting Tesla moving forward. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you guys sign up and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total, and deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60. Just keep the money in the account for at least 60 days. You'll also qualify for an 8.1% APY on invested cash, and the offer ends on June 3rd. On top of this, I just want to mention that as far as the market's going, if you guys keep at least $100 in the account, you'll also qualify for free level 2 data, which could help you understand what's happening with market sentiment, liquidity zones, and with day trading. So check out my link down below. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with this market and Tesla. So Tesla's only up 0.29% in the after hours right now. There is more upside potential, though, as long as you can hold above 276. As we hit this red line right here, the 200 EMA, Tesla likes to bounce. But if we can't get back above 292, we could reject. So we're actually favoring upside, which is where this imbalance happens to be. Now, moving forward, I just want to mention that we are getting some good news, which is helping the market push, which could affect Tesla to some extent. So Microsoft is up 7% in the after hours after its earnings just came out. Meta is up 5.6%. We got some good earnings and good guidance. Good news so far. This is helping Amazon being up 3.3%. And despite the fact that Apple's down because of some bad news, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, I want to mention that Nvda is also pushing. It's up almost 4% right now. So we're seeing lots of big tech stocks trying to push, which is helping the QQQ and SPY. And this may help Tesla to some extent going into tomorrow, which could help us see a nice move. But in order for this move to turn explosive, Tesla has to break some very, very key resistance levels. I do think we're going to try to push a bit higher, but we have to watch resistance just to be safe. So I'll talk more about these levels in the next couple of minutes. I first want to talk about some news. There's news that Tesla's head of battery architect, his name is Vineet. He is going to be stepping down, unfortunately. So it's not the best of news, at least so far. We don't really have way too much information about why he's going to be leaving and such. But at the end of the day, I just wish him the best moving forward. And I thank him for his contributions to the company. So that's some big news that's coming out. On top of this, there's been a lot of talk about how President Trump's automotive tariff exemption does benefit Tesla because, once again, the first thing to remember is that the tariffs did affect Tesla to some extent because of some of the things that Musk has been talking about how they will have a significant effect on Tesla's prices. But despite that, with the exemptions, that does benefit Tesla to some extent. So good news for them, at least from that end. And this did come out a couple of days ago. We're still seeing this circulating. Besides that, Tesla still has a sell rating from Guggenheim, and Stifel's giving Tesla a buy rating. We're also seeing, in terms of seasonality, Tesla tends to be green at least a lot more during the second to last hour of the day at 3 p.m. And historically, Thursdays tend to be weaker days. We're only green about 47% of the time. May tends to be a so-so month for Tesla, but June tends to be very strong as we're green 80% of the time. So keep that in mind as we start a new month. Now, with some news, keep in mind the market did start off on a low end because there was news that the economy shrank by 0.3% as our GDP growth rate was down for the first quarter. Why is this happening? Well, there's many different factors, right? It's not just because of the tariffs. I would say it has to do with the higher interest rates, number one. Number two, number two, it's consumer spending that's slowing down. And then number three, with sentiment being down because of the tariffs, that's also causing this to happen. This shouldn't be a surprise because the tariffs can cause prices to go up, and simultaneously they're going to be causing a disruption to our GDP and factors like that. But at the same time, you have to remember that although there are some substantial effects, President Trump is arguing that at the end of the day, the government is going to be collecting hundreds of billions, if not trillions, from the tariffs, and he wants to decrease taxes on the individual as a result. So we'll see if it's worth it or not. There's obviously two sides to the coin. And with the billions of dollars the government's going to make from the tariffs, can they offset the pain? That's like the main question. Can they offset the pain to prices and all these different things? We'll have to wait and see, but those are like the two ways to kind of look at it, at least for now. Now, President Trump is acknowledging the fact that his tariffs can be affecting things. So President Trump did talk about how, once again, with the way things are going, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, and maybe the $2 will cost a couple bucks more than they would normally. That's what President Trump actually said. So he is anticipating the fact that there's going to be higher prices. But he's also saying that with the tariffs coming out, it's also hurting China as they're feeling tremendous difficulties. And then President Trump mentioned that we have been ripped off by every country in the world, but China in particular, I would say, is the one leading. So that's what President Trump said about China, at least so far. So what's happening is President Trump is acknowledging that his tariffs are going to cause some pain. There's going to be higher prices and such. He mentioned that Americans shouldn't complain too much about it because this is what he's been campaigning for many, many years, and that it's going to be worth it. He's saying it's going to be worth it because he wants to decrease taxes on the individuals, and he said the US is going to start winning. President Trump mentioned that the US has been losing trillions of dollars to China and these other countries, and that since the tariffs are coming into place, the US is starting to make $1 billion or more per day. He's saying we're going to make billions back and it's going to be worth it. He also mentioned that it's going to create more fairness because other countries are continuing to screw over the US, and what he's doing is going to be necessary. President Trump is acknowledging the fact that prices will start to go up and that there's a slowdown in the GDP. He did at least acknowledge it, but simultaneously, he is trying to put the blame on others. So I'll talk about that in just a second. I try to be unbiased when I say this, but President Trump mentioned that Joe Biden is the reason why the stock market's performing the way it's been. Actually didn't perform too poorly. We actually dipped only to get bought back up. But while the market was down, President Trump did tweet this about, not tweet this, he put this on his Truth Social page, about this. He called it Biden's stock market, not Trump's. He said he did not take over until January 20th, and the tariffs will soon start to kick in, and companies are starting to move into the US in record numbers. Our country will boom, but we have to get rid of the Biden overhang. So that's what he's been saying. This will take a while, but it has nothing to do with the tariffs. Only that he left us with bad numbers. So that's what President Trump is arguing. Obviously, he's getting very political about these things. But so I just want to say that President Trump is trying to say that his tariffs are good, everything's going to be okay, and that we shouldn't worry too much about what they try to tell us. He's continuing to insinuate that everything is going to be okay. Now, moving forward, when it comes to trade deals, President Trump is insisting that China is taking a big hit and they have to negotiate with the US. He's saying that they're continuing to negotiate despite the fact that Chinese officials are denying it and that there's going to be big deals coming. Lutnick is saying there's going to be a big international deal coming very soon, possibly with India, and that's going to be very, very big. So what's Trump's view? Basically, he's acknowledging that there's going to be higher prices due to the tariffs. He did say that, for example, kids may be getting $2 instead of 30 for Christmas, and that the $2 could be more expensive. He did say that, but at the same time, he's saying that this pain is going to be worth it because the US will create more jobs. We're going to get more jobs in the US, is what he claims, and that everything is going to be all right. He's also continuing to say that he's not happy with Jerome Powell and he thinks that rates should be lower and that there's going to be lots of trade deals coming. So that's what President Trump is saying so far. So keep that in mind. We'll see if we get any more updates from him, but I'm just trying to say this all to be unbiased. Why do I talk about this? Because his tariffs are going to be affecting our GDP. As you could tell, it affects the stock market, but it wasn't really enough to get the market to crash as we saw buyers return, especially after the big tech earnings. So what's happening now? Let's talk about some news, then I'll talk about the earnings, then the charts. Number one, just know that for tomorrow, it's going to be the first day of May. In the morning at 8:30 a.m., we have initial jobless claims. Then at 9:45 a.m., we have the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI report. And at 10 o'clock a.m., we have the ISM Manufacturing PMI employment new orders and prices, which could cause more volatility. So watch and see what that leads to, at least moving forward. So expect a big move at 10 a.m. as we have lots of data coming out, and we'll see what that leads to. Besides that, keep in mind that we just got Microsoft and Meta announcing their earnings, and tomorrow we have Amazon and Apple, so keep that in mind as well. Right now, these big tech stocks are leading the market up because Microsoft did relatively well. Microsoft had basically announced that they're going to be expanding their cloud and AI infrastructure in Europe because they're going to be fully complying with regulations, and they're trying to kind of sway away from other markets because this will benefit them in a lot of different ways. They also mentioned that they saw some nice growth as their first quarter revenue ended up beating expectations at $70.1 billion. Their EPS was at $3.46 above expectations. The cloud revenue was at $42.4 billion above expectations. And the intelligent cloud revenue was above expectations at $26.8 billion. They're also talking about how they're leading the AI race with the potential to grow into a $225 billion market just from AI alone by 2027. And they do anticipate lots and lots of growth. So things are still looking quite good. They didn't really comment too much about their guidance, but they're still looking quite good. When it comes to Meta, they also beat expectations. They earned $6.43 per share with sales at $42.3 billion for the quarter. They also mentioned that they are doing quite well with their growth and that they saw sales up 16%. They also talked about despite the tariffs, they are still more focused on guidance, and guidance is still looking quite good for them because it's still actually aligned with expectations at $44 billion in sales for the June quarter. So good guidance from Meta, beating on EPS and revenue. Good growth from Microsoft as well, beating expectations. And they're very optimistic about the future as they're going to be investing more into European infrastructure for data centers. Very, very big news from Microsoft. Very, very bullish so far. So, as Microsoft and Meta are pushing, what does this mean for Tesla? Well, basically, if we're bearish, just hypothetically, we need to see Tesla fail at 275, then the low of the day. If that fails us, we could be dipping back down. But when you look at the daily time frame on Tesla, we got a excuse me, we got a nice daily looking candlestick, which does favor 287 a share. That's going to be where our 200 EMA happens to be. And we have a gap to fill all the way up there, which is quite good news. When you look at this, we're continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. We did dip a bit with the bad news, but then we got bought back up. So I do anticipate we go a little bit higher tomorrow with this setup on the daily. And the 4 hour is also looking quite good. So if we're bearish, like I said before, you want to see us lose 275 and then 270, start dumping for like 264 or below. If we're bullish, you want to get back above this blue trend line. We want to retest like 287, then get back above like 292. If 292 breaks, I do think we explode to about the 300s or above. So what do I think is going to happen? Tomorrow, my prediction is that what's going to happen is we're going to try to push for like 285 and maybe even 288. I can't promise we're going to break 292 yet. We might just continue to consolidate, but we need to break 292 to really turn explosive. I don't think we're going to explode that quickly unless we get some big news. But for now, I do see signs that we're going to continue to consolidate in this range and maybe see some upside back up closer to 290. But if we get some good news and break 292, this will eventually push for 300, and there is potential for this. But we need confirmation first, so give this some time. For SPY, we're looking quite bullish. This could also help Tesla push towards 290, if not even higher. If SPY loses 555, we could be dipping back down to like 548 or below. If we're bullish, you want to see us continue to hold up at 555. I'll be targeting 560, then basically 562 as our potential targets on the daily. So I think we're still looking more bullish. So my view, excuse me, is that if we end up losing 555, we're going to be turning back down, dipping towards below 550. But as long as we're above this, we're actually favoring 562, then eventually 567 as our potential targets. Looking at the daily, we're looking bullish. So 562 to 567 is looking like it's more probable in my personal opinion. For the QQQ, if we end up losing 474, we're looking for a dip back down to 466. We're going to be testing 482 tomorrow as resistance. If that breaks, I think we easily push for 485 to 490. My gut tells me that as long as we don't lose 475 to start dipping lower, as long as we're above that, we're favoring a test of like 482 tomorrow. If that breaks, I'm looking for 485 then 490. We still look more bullish as more buyers are stepping in. And for now, the QQQ is holding up quite nicely. It looks bullish because of the big tech earnings, and this could be pushing us higher for 485 plus. For the IWM, we look a bit more bullish. If we end up losing 192, we're looking for a dip back down to 188. As long as we're above 195, though, we're actually favoring 199 as our target, as we're looking a bit more bullish. For ES, we're looking bullish. If we end up losing basically 56.16, we're looking for a dip to about 55.80. As long as we're above 5600, we're actually favoring a push back up to about 56.60 as our target, then back up towards these higher levels. So I don't want to see us lose 5600. As long as we hold this, we're favoring 56.60, then eventually back up to like 50, basically close to 56.80 plus. I favor upside right now. We're looking bullish, and 56.60 to 56.80 does look more probable. For NQ, if we end up losing basically 19,678, we're looking for a dip back down. We also have resistance at 20,000. If that breaks, we're looking for an attempt to push to about 20,200. So 20,000 is going to be tested. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a bigger push above 20,000. So I'm favoring 20,000 plus on NQ. I think big tech is going to push us higher. Bitcoin's kind of consolidating, so it's still in a consolidation phase between 96 and 92,000. So I do favor a push towards like 96,000. For Tesla, we're looking a bit more bullish. We're trying to go a little bit higher right here, so we'll see if we could continue to go higher or not. I'm favoring a push for basically 287 to 290, and we'll see if we break past 292 or not to turn even more bullish, but I do see us pushing a bit more from here. On Nvidia, we're looking bullish on the daily. If we end up losing 110, we're looking for 107. If we break past 113, we're looking for an attempt to push towards 114 and eventually 117. So we're still looking more bullish on Aapl. If we break 213.5, we're looking for an attempt to push for like 220. If we lose 205, we're looking for a dip back down. We're actually favoring a push back up to 218. For Netflix, we're looking quite bullish. We're looking for 1130 as our potential target and 1160. Looks pretty good so far. On MSTR, we're looking bullish, looking for an attempt for almost the higher levels. I just don't want to see us lose essentially this support on the 4 hour. I'm going to show you this real quick. I don't want to see us lose 367. As long as we're above this, we're actually favoring a push to about 390. Looks good so far. For Celsius, I don't want to see us lose 34. I do think it's going to be retesting these EMAs at 35.5 to 35.85. So I favor upside for 35.8 as a potential target. For Supermicro, if we end up losing 30, we're going to be dipping back down. But as long as we're above 31.5, we're favoring a push to 33. So I favor 33 plus as a potential target. For Palantir, we're looking bullish. If we lose 120, it's going to be a bad sign. As long as we're above this, we're favoring 125 as our target. So I think we're doing a fantastic job. For Rivian, so long as we don't end up losing 13.5, we're favoring 14 plus. I think 14 is likely going to be tested on Rivian as we're seeing a nice double bottom and a nice accumulation to push us higher. SoFi is looking decent. I need to see if we could hold 12.37. As long as this holds, we could be looking for an attempt to get to about 13, which is where this imbalance is. We need to get back above 12.69 or so to continue to go higher. For AMD, we basically have 99.6 as our resistance. If that breaks, I'm looking for 102. If we lose support at 97, we're looking for a dip back down to 95, so keep that in mind. ARM is looking a bit more bullish. If we end up losing 115, returning back down. As long as we're above this, we're actually favoring 119. Palantir is looking bullish. So long as we don't end up losing 64.8, we're favoring a push for 66. For Coinbase, I need to see us hold 202. If that holds, we're looking for an attempt for 210. So that there's a very, very good chance that this is going to be tested. If we lose 200, we're going to be dipping back down to like 197, but I'm favoring 208 to 210 as our potential targets. For Amazon, we have a nice looking double bottom here. We could be looking for an attempt to test 193. If that breaks, I'm looking for essentially 198. If we end up losing 188, we're looking for a dip back down to 185. I'm favoring 193 as a potential target. I think we're looking pretty good on Amazon. We need to hold above 190 for confirmation, but this is looking pretty good with a nice accumulation and a nice higher low. So long as we don't lose 183, we're favoring 193. We're looking pretty good so far. For Meta, we're looking good. I'll need to see us hold 573 for confirmation to push for like 592. If we hold 573, I think we push for like 587 and eventually 592. We're looking pretty good on Meta, but just for confirmation, let's see if 574 holds. On Microsoft, we're still up quite a bit, up almost 7%. It's going to gap up pretty easily tomorrow. Let's see if we can get back above 430 to really continue. If we don't, we could be dipping back down to like 417, but I'm still favoring upside. Google looks pretty good. We could be looking for an attempt to get back up to 165. If we lose 159, we can turn back down, but I'm favoring 165 as a potential target. For DJT, we're looking bullish. I'm looking for a test of 24.93. If that breaks, 25.8 could be coming. For the VIX, we have a falling wedge here. So we'll see if we break past resistance at 28.4. If that breaks, we're going even higher. If we lose support right here at this area right over here around this 23 area, this will be dumping back down. This is looking like it's going to reject and come down to fill the gap at 22, so that's bullish for stocks. The 10-year is very flat, and so is the dollar. We'll see if this affects things. There is an inverse head and shoulders forming. If there's no sign of a break on the dollar, it might just consolidate, and I do think that the market gaps up tomorrow and tries to go a little higher. I think this could help Tesla try to push higher as long as we hold above 275 because we had good big tech earnings and overall there were a lot of buyers who still defended Tesla. So I do think we could push a bit higher for like 285 to 287 on Tesla. But to be really bullish, we need to break 292 for confirmation. As of right now, Tesla has not done that, so we're still technically range bound. So will Tesla explode? I wouldn't say we're going to explode. I'm going to say that we're going to try to push higher, but to get that explosive move, we got to get back above like 292 for confirmation. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I am kind of late today because it took a while to see what was happening with Microsoft and Meta's earnings, but overall, good earnings so far. Keep in mind one more thing. So for tomorrow, don't forget we have lots of data at 10 o'clock a.m. that's going to be affecting Tesla in the markets, lots of manufacturing numbers. I'll keep you guys updated on that. And then simultaneously, we have More big earnings coming out. We have Amazon and Apple tomorrow after market close. So tomorrow's going to be another big day for the markets. And then Friday is going to be when we see a big reaction. So I'll keep you guys updated on everything. I'll be back tomorrow before market open to give you guys another update. Until then, I thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.